The gerunds. The gerund is a verb for ending in, ing, which is used to form verb tenses, which in English may also be used as an adjective or a noun. For example, we use the gerunds in the continuous tenses. For example, he's washing the dishes, or she was fixing the car. The gerund is also used after certain other verbs. For example, he went on singing, or he continued singing. Also, with a time expression followed by the gerund is used to talk about how long you've spent doing something. For example, I spent the weekend studying. Also, with object pronouns and reflexive pronouns are usually attached to the end of the gerund. Although you can also often put them before the verb start in continuous tenses. For example, I'm talking to you. I'm talking about the verb be, the verb to be.
What is infinitive? Well, infinitive is a verb that functions as a noun, adjective, or adverb in order to express an opinion, purpose of an object or action, or answer the questions who, what, or why. An infinitive usually begins with the word to, and is followed by the base form of a verb, the simple form of the verb that you will find in the dictionary. In English, when we talk about the infinitive, we are usually referring to the present infinitive, which is the most common. There are, however, 4 other forms of the infinitive: the perfect infinitive, the perfect continuous infinitive, the continuous infinitive, and the passive infinitive. Infinitives as a noun. Remember that a noun is a person, place, or thing. When infinitive is used as subject or direct object in the sentence, it functions as a noun. An example is, I love to sleep. To help others is so important. Now, infinitive as adjective. An adjective is a word that modifies, adds, or describes a noun. So, infinitives function as adjectives when they modify or describe nouns in a sentence. Example, Joel wants a book to read. And finally, infinitives as adverbs. Adverbs modify or describe adjective verbs or other adverbs. They provide additional information about what, where, how, and to what extent or degree. Sometimes adverbs also answer the question why. Examples, the students were excited to go on a trip, and Mom is going to a store to buy dinner.
Question tags are used to ask the opinion or seek the approval of the person with whom we are speaking. This is more common in speaking than writing. For example, they are British, aren't they? Someone asks if they are British, which means that he wants to confirm that information. When the statement is positive, we use a negative question tag. For example, he is a dentist, isn't he? But if the statement is negative, we use a positive question tag. For example, they aren't here, are they? It is important to emphasize that the same tense of the statement is used to ask the tag question. For example, you eat rice, don't you? This statement is in the present simple, so we use the auxiliary do to make our question tag. To form question tag, we use the auxiliary verb from the main phrase in the opposite form plus the subject. Sometimes there is no auxiliary verb already in the statement, so when the verb in the statement is present simple or past simple and is positive, you use don't, doesn't, or didn't. Or when the verb in the statement is to be in the present simple or past simple, we use to be to make the question tag. And when the verb in the statement is a modal verb, we use the same modal verb to make the question tag. Be careful with to have and have got, because you form question tag differently. When you use have got, you will use have in the question tag. For example, they've got a dog, haven't they? But when you use to have, you need to use the auxiliary of present simple, which is do. For example, they have a dog, don't they? Finally, we have an exception. If the main verb or auxiliary verb in the statement is am, the positive question tag is am I, but the negative question tag is usually aren't I. For example, I'm never on time, am I? But in the sentence, I'm going to get an email with the details, aren't I? We change the am to are.
We use the passive voice when we want the sentence to focus on both the object and the subject, as usual. The subject is the element that performs that action, and the object the one affected by the action. The passive voice is formed with the auxiliary verb to be and the past participle of the verb. The structure is subject plus verb to be plus verb in participle plus object. The rules are: change the order of the subject for the object, then add the auxiliary to be in the verb tense of the active voice, and finally add the participle of the main verb. As the examples, active voice, she ate all of the cookies, and passive voice, all the cookies were eaten. We also use the passive voice when we don't know who has to perform the action. In other words, when we want to give more importance to the action and not the person who carried it out, we use the passive voice. Like the example, a civilian has been killed. In addition, when we want to give more importance to what happened, that who carried out the action, or when we don't want to say who carried it out. The letter was delivered yesterday. Note, we cannot use the passive voice with interested verbs like died, arrive, or go, since interested verbs are verbs that don't carry direct object.
We use indirect question in a different way from reported questions. Indirect questions are a way of being polite. They are very, very common in English, especially when you are talking to someone you don't know. Notice that in this example, in the indirect question, I put the verb after the subject, in the same way as I do with a normal positive sentence. But in the direct question, I put the verb is before the subject, the bank. This is called inversion, and it is used to make direct question in many verbs tenses in English. But we don't use inversion in indirect questions. This is very similar to the grammar of reported question.
Now the echo questions. An echo question is a type of direct question that repeats part or all of something which someone else has just asked, and is one for of each. Oh no. An echo question. Echo questions. An echo question is a type of direct questions that repeats part or all of something which someone else has just asked, and is one form of echo utterance. Echo questions are also referred to as a parrot question or repeat please questions. Also, it is a type of question that we ask to express surprise or desire to know more information. Also, when you haven't understood what has been said, or if you just want to check if you heard correctly, in which the intonation will rise. For example, I'm not getting married anymore. You are not what? That is an echo question. Another example is he had said someone will do something. He had said who will do what? That is an echo question.